looks that way, and I'd like to be there.
Yeah,
Me
that's
too.
beautiful, Dave.
Okay, I must warn Rowan and Paula Floth, we've had a few incidents before. Hey, Rowan, I have now started the recording of the meeting so that others who could not attend can, hear the playback. So please behave accordingly, okay?
I will definitely do that.
Let's go ahead and start, folks. If you would please join me in the pledge. And I will try to put us in the right frame of mind here in just a second. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I'm going to let a couple of people in from the waiting room. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck Hawkins to deliver the invocation for us this afternoon. Chuck, over to you, sir.
Thank you. This is a little different. It is a prayer that I have carried with me for many years. And I think every time I read it, I have a different meaning. Black Elk was a holy man of the Oglala Sioux. He was the second cousin of Crazy Horse. He, as a young man, was with Crazy Horse at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. He died in 1950. He said, "There can never be peace between nations until there is first known that true peace which is within the souls of men." With that in mind, Black Elk said this following prayer in a book that he wrote called The Sacred Pipe. "We should understand well that all things are the works of the Great Spirit. We should know that he is within all things. He is within the trees, the grasses, the rivers, the mountains, and the four-legged animals, and the winged peoples. And even more important, we should understand that he is above all these things and people. When we do understand all this deeply in our hearts, then we will fear and love and know the Great Spirit, and then we will be and act and live as he intends."
Thank you, Chuck. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, let me shift gears here a moment. Do we have any visiting Rotarians? And District Governor Elizabeth, I know Ed Anderson is going to formally introduce you here a little bit later, but thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Any other visiting Rotarians?
John? John, I'd like to introduce a student who is part of the Arizona State Rotaract Club, who I have been mentoring, and I know there's 3 others in our club who are also mentoring. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Esmeralda Ortega, who is on the call today. She is majoring in psychology at ASU and has been a member of Rotaract for actually 3 years. And she got involved her freshman year. She also served on the Rotaract board and the ASU for a year and was the social media chairman. She loves volunteering. And one of the things that I asked her, I said, since you're going to be a senior next year, are you going to be a club officer? And she said that the psychology department has asked her to be a president of another organization that they work with, where she's going to be responsible for making a lot of changes in that world. So I'd like to welcome Imelda to our club meeting.
Esmeralda, thank you so much for being here. Bob, great introduction. Esmeralda, you want to say a few words? Take yourself off of mute.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. It's my first Rotary meeting and I'm excited to hear from the district governor.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for being able to be here this afternoon.
Esmeralda, say hello to Dora and Brandon for me. I invited them tonight, but they weren't able to come.
Yes, I will. I think we have a meeting next week, so we'll let them know.
Okay.
Yep. And for those of you that may not know, Dora Lee is just recently been announced as the upcoming Rotaract president for the upcoming Rotary year. So congratulations to Dora, and great job this past year by Adrian Vesio. So great to have you, Esmeralda. Thank you so much. Okay. Normally I would show a lovely picture, or have Scott Favor show a lovely picture of our Rotarian of the Month, Stephen Fair, at this time. But unfortunately, I don't have that picture ready to share. However, I'm very pleased to say I've just received a text from Stephen Fair in Mexico with Mexico flags, little margarita icons, and a donation of $20 for our first Happy Sad contribution of the night. So we're going to say thank you to our Rotarian of the Month for being the first one in. That is great. April is Maternal and Child Health Month for Rotary. Let's keep that in mind as we move through the month of April. And at this time, I would like to turn the stage over to new member Don Peterson. Within the first 90 days or so of joining our club, we asked new members to spend a bit of time, 10 to 15 minutes. Doesn't have to be that long, but an opportunity to introduce themselves a bit more so that our members can understand who is Don Peterson, and we get to learn a little bit about him tonight. So Don, thank you so much, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. One of the things I wanted to say right up to the starting of this is that I've been kind of around Rotary for quite a few years. My father-in-law was a longtime member. My brother-in-law spent 4 weeks in India on a Rotary exchange. So, you know, those two connections really kind of brought me in. Also, my wife and I, on the invitation of Dick Thomas, attended your annual golf tournament a few years ago and really enjoyed that time with all of you. And my daughter, about 12 years ago, 10 to 12 years ago, was recognized as your Teacher of the Month. So she was before you and talked to you. And so I've been kind of around on the outskirts of this club. And finally, Dick said, you know, you need to join. I said, okay, I'll do that. So I'm really appreciative of what you guys do. As far as my background, I was a teacher for 37 years. I graduated from University of Oregon with a bachelor's degree in mathematics. And then I also, at that time, I was a 4-year letterman in swimming. So I was around the water a lot. And I got my master's degree from Portland State University in mathematics teaching. So those are kind of my educational backgrounds. As far as vocation, as I said, I taught mathematics in the high school for 37 years. I was a swimming coach at the same high school for 20 years. And then in 1986, I was recognized as the Teacher of the Year for secondary schools for the school district. So I've been around teaching for quite a long time. You know, I've had a lot of opportunities in education. First off, I participated in a nationwide grant from Texas Instruments. They were developing at the time their TI-81 graphing calculator. And so I was invited back to Ohio State and University, and they kind of went over the calculator as they were developing it. And we as a group were kind of looking at it and deciding how would that work in our math classrooms. And so that was a great experience for me. I was also in a teacher project based alternative learning section of our high school, where we took students and tried to encourage all of them to come up with a project. And then we would try to show them the mathematics, the science, the language arts, and all of that involved with that project. And that kind of got me going into another school that the district was talking about. And that was an arts and academics magnet school. And I became involved in developing that school and was on their committee to put it together. And then the Getty Foundation heard of us and developed and invited us in, again, a nationwide grant where we went around the country and talked to other schools about what they were doing, trying to bring arts and academics more meld together. And so that got me switching from the school I was in for 27 years. And then I went over to the arts and academic school and taught there the remaining 10 years of my career, which was quite an experience because art students, you know, when you're in a math class and you're teaching geometry or something, you don't expect students to suddenly break out in song and good harmony song. So it was really a fun experience for me, and the kids really wanted to be there, and the school is still going strong. It's 25 years now the school has been going, and so that was a highlight for me as far as my teaching career. Personally, my wife and I have been married 48 years. I retired and she retired from her job. Her family owned a furniture store, which started out actually as a tin shop in Vancouver, Washington, back 100 and something, I don't know how many years ago. And so she retired from that, and we decided we retired down here since my daughter lives down here. So that's how we ended up down here. And we purchased a home down here about 11 years ago. And so we come down here in the winter months to get away from the rain and the cold and the cloudy days up in the Northwest. So as far as my activities, I have 2 grandchildren from my daughter. I only have the one daughter, so 2 grandchildren. In fact, my grandson was over here yesterday and swimming in our pool that we have, and we had a grand time with him. And so we enjoy being down here. I'm an active member of the Cottonwood Tennis Club. I play tennis there 3 times a week. I kind of play golf. I play it probably once a week, or once a month or 2 times a month. And so I kind of get to see the whole course. I'm not right down the fairway, so to speak. When I'm home up in Vancouver, Washington, I spend a lot of time on the Columbia River. I have a friend that has a sailboat, and we go out sailing quite often. We used to race every Tuesday night on the Columbia River, but now we just go out and cruises, and we have a kind of a Sunday easy cruise. And I do that. I also water ski on the Columbia. I still do that. I water ski on the Columbia River. There's a group of us, we're all gray hairs, you know, because we all slalom ski and we all get out and get on the water and have our fun on the water skiing. And I also am a member of the Porsche Club in Portland, and that's where I met Dick Thomas about 15 years ago, and we hit it off pretty well. We got together and went on a lot of drives together with the club, and then as the kind of individual groups, and traveled around. Went to Yellowstone one time and spent about a week driving to Yellowstone and through, and so always enjoyed being around them. And so he moved down here, I like to think, because we were down here. So that's kind of how things have come up to where I am now here, joining the club. So I'm very happy to be part of it. And that's kind of a quick synopsis of my life.
Outstanding, Don. Thank you so much for sharing with us. A couple of quick questions. Gary Whiting last summer was making sure that the inventory records were accurate on the number of members of our club that had achieved a hole-in-one in golf. By chance, have you had a hole-in-one?
Well, not even close. Not even close.
All right. Well, sorry, Gary, I tried to get one more for our club here, but you never know, right?
All right.
Hey, Don, one other thing. We certainly want to thank Dick Thomas for being your sponsor and Don Robbins for being your mentor.
Yes, in fact,
earlier. Yep, go ahead.
I've met with Don a couple times, and he's getting me all geared up for next fall when I come back and enjoy. And he called me today and talked to me. So yes, it's been a good experience.
It's great having someone with a rich math experience to be involved in the STEM projects and be active on that portion of one of the education committees. So very much looking forward to having you involved in that. And just a minor note, you're talking about you're not used to mathematics students breaking out in song. Well, a lot of my high school math classes, I sang the blues, but that was for a whole different reason. It was when report cards came out. So that was a different challenge. So Don, thank you so much. Great overview and very, very happy to have you as a member of our club.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, next item I want to cover this afternoon is some follow-up from just this recent Saturday, the 10th of April. Our first Rotary Rally was held, started and ended at Sisk Park. And in between, we had a chance to get around the area and visit some of our sponsors and places of business with some outstanding clues that had been generated and provided to the team. So Christine, if you're able, would you like to maybe give a recap and some summary? And I will try to share a few pictures from that event as you were talking through that, but I'll let you get started, okay?
Perfect. Yeah, we had a great turnout. There were 44 participants, which equals 11 teams. And the participating businesses was Sun Devil Auto, Edward Jones, built by Referral State Farm, Good Sound Audiology, and Home Instead Senior Care. Great response from everybody that it was just a positive event. So thank you everybody who participated and helped with it. Yeah, we had people take pictures along the way and send them in. So that was fun as well. And then we met back at the park and had a social and did a lot of door prizes. And I think the most exciting thing is that it was, we charged $5 if you had to phone a friend, which was calling me for the answer to the clue. But we had very generous donations. And so $1,450 was raised for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library through it. So that's super exciting. I'm very, very happy about that. So, and thanks to Scott and Stephen for helping with the whole thing, and Peter, and thank you, Dave, for bringing the table too for all the information. So that's what I have. It was a good event.
Very good, Christine. No, I agree completely. In talking to the folks that were there, they were very happy to attend. I appreciate the fact we had 4 non-Rotarians that participated as invited guests of Rotarians that were participating, and some great ideas and thoughts about a subsequent event. Maybe in the fall when the weather starts turning cool again. I don't think we'll try this in mid-July, but we'll probably have something similar with maybe a little bit of a twist later this year. So a big thanks to everyone that participated. If you didn't participate and you'd like to know more about the details of how that went, and you might have some ideas yourself, please feel free to get a hold of Christine, Stephen Fair, or Scott Favor. So thanks to everybody from that perspective. Before I have Ed Anderson introduce our guest speaker for the week, I would like to talk a little bit about some follow-up from last week's morning meeting, April the 6th, our first hybrid meeting attempt with some of the members at the Palo Verde Country Club or the restaurant there, and some of us on Zoom. It was great feedback for those that were there to just flat out get a chance to see some people that they haven't seen in over a year or maybe several months. Certainly not that many people all in one location. We were not without some challenges on the audio aspects, both people on the Zoom call being able to clearly hear people that were in the room, and at times vice versa. Part of that had to do with our equipment setup. Part of that had to do with the timing that we had to get set up before the meeting got started. You got a lot of pluses about the food was good, and the significant amount of food. Apparently there was quite a bit of food on the plate, so I don't think anybody left hungry that was there. So the future meetings, we were constrained by some house rules and maybe modifying house rules as the requirements in the state and the local restaurants or places of business evolve. So we were limited to 2 people per table. And as a result, with 25 people there in the room, there were some tables that were quite a ways away from the screen and the speakers. And so that led to difficult to see at times, as well as difficult to hear. We're going to try a little bit different room setup next time. And we are open with full support from the club, the Palo Verde Club, to go ahead and put 4 people at a table with 4 chairs. Now, you need to be comfortable sitting with the people that you're sitting with. They most likely are not part of your household. So you may ask people to wear a mask if they're not eating, or you may want to say, I'm going to move back a little bit and sit at a table more by myself. But there are a real lot of positive feedback from those that were able to participate in the room. The next meeting that we are currently scheduling is the first Tuesday of May, the 4th of May. That will be our Educator of the Year presentations. Unfortunately, between now and then, we run into a couple of barriers and challenges. Number one, the afternoon ambiance and background noise is not going to lend itself to a hybrid meeting. We're going to have just way too much quote unquote volume of noise in the room to be able to pull off a hybrid. And on the 20th, next Tuesday morning, we have 6 students delivering their 4-way speech from our 4-way speech contest, all of whom will be calling in remote, and really leaves very little time for any club business other than listening to the speeches next week. So a combination of that, along with our master technician, Scott Favors' availability to get all of the equipment hooked up, we're looking at the 4th of May. The way I'm going to treat this is, please send me a note if you would like to attend in person. I'm pretty confident we're going to have room for that. And if you would prefer to attend via Zoom, I'm going to work really hard to improve the audio and the visual so that those that do want to Zoom in, maybe they're already out of town and want to call in from outside of the state of Arizona, or if they just prefer to participate via Zoom versus in person yet, I would really like to have that functionality in place and available on that meeting as well. But do expect the next meeting at Palo Verde to be on the 4th of May. We'll be able to put more people in the room and more people per table than we had before. And if you are very much interested in attending that meeting, please drop me a note and let me know. We'll be working. I don't know that I'm going to have to cap it at, I don't know that we could go over 50 if we wanted to, just based on our normal attendance. But we'll work through that here over the next couple of weeks. Does anybody have any questions or other comments they'd like to make from the first hybrid meeting?
John?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I noticed that a little discussion that some of the people on the microphone, they spoke too softly, other people couldn't hear it, or that the cameras were not quite focused to give the people that were sitting at home the correct vision of who was speaking.
Mm-hmm. That's great feedback. We talked about in the debrief the proximity from where the camera was capturing whoever came up to the microphone to speak, and the ability for that individual to speak into the microphone and have both people in the room hear them speak, as well as those of us that were calling in remotely. So part of that is going to require more testing before we actually start the meeting. And other parts of it have to do with just changing the location from where the cameras are to where the speaker in the room is. But that was definitely one of the challenges that we had. Okay, well, I appreciate your patience as we went through that first hybrid meeting. No matter how good or bad it was, there was always going to have to be the first hybrid meeting. We'll capture some lessons learned from that and move forward. With that, I would like to ask Ed Anderson to introduce this evening's guest speaker, District Governor Elizabeth Mahoney. So Ed, over to you, and for the rest of us, let's go on mute. And I'm assuming, Elizabeth, questions at the end are okay, or? Very good.
Thank you, John. You know, it is such a pleasure to have Elizabeth with us today because, you know, those of us that have gone through some of the leadership groups and the other clubs to think about accepting responsibility for 65 clubs. And then you had all these great plans and it was looking really just super. All the presidents were so excited of what we were going to do. And it's the great party that we were going to have out at the stadium. And then you get slammed and she has to change everything that was planned. And how she has come through this has just been unbelievable as a great leader for the Rotary Club, for us, and for the entire district. So, you know, Elizabeth, 11 years ago, she joined the Sun City Rotary Club. And in many different capacities, she's been a member, and then she was the past president. And she also started the Sun City Satellite Club, which she served as the first chairperson. And her strong Rotary background includes being a former district Rotary Foundation chair, a Rotary Youth Exchange mom, and a committee member. And then she became one of the emerging Rotary leaders that took the program Crutches for Africa. She led 2 of the Interact groups to Kenya and did a fabulous job. And she's going to talk some about that today. And she also served as the chief of staff for past district governor Nancy Van Pelt. And that's where I first saw and met Elizabeth, and how she conducted part of that meeting that we had for the district. I knew at that time that she was a rising star within our Rotary zone and within our Rotary district. So with that, would you please welcome our district governor, Elizabeth Mahoney.
Thank you, Ed. I really appreciate it. And thank you, John. I definitely want to start off by just saying you have an excellent club president, as you guys know, so excellent that he's going to be doing it again next year. And so hopefully, John, you'll get to do some of those plans that were set aside, but you have just been such a pleasure to work with this year, and I can't thank you enough. And the same goes to Ed. Ed's one of our assistant governors and oversees the most clubs, 5 clubs, and puts up with a lot of my need for flexibility and has just been incredible this year, Ed. So thank you. But most importantly, you guys, I'm just really happy to be here. As John alluded to during the social hour, you know, we kept waiting because we were hoping at some point that the visit would be in person. And, you know, I don't think any of us, maybe some of you, but I don't think many of us thought COVID would last a full year. When we were at President's-elect training, what Ed's talking about, that was a week before the shutdown. So we talked about all those in-person plans and all the events and everything. And then the next week, everything did change. And that's okay. I think looking back, we'll talk about it today. We've done an excellent job of adapting in the most unbelievable time and, you know, making sure that everybody was taken care of in our clubs and in our community. But I look forward to being able to see all of you in person. And I know that District Governor-elect Brett is very excited to be able to come in person. So hang in there for the virtual meetings. You'll get through it, I promise. It does take time, but I promise. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Some of you already know some of this just because you've been on another meeting potentially that I've led, or we might have talked about this at something else. But this year's theme, so you guys know that our motto is service above self and people of action. That's Rotary International's, you know, tagline. But every year we have a RI presidential theme that the international president gets to pick something out that they think represents them for that year. And this is usually picked out about 2 to 3 years in advance, believe it or not. So when you apply for governor and you apply for RI president, you do that about 2.5 years, 3 years in advance of when you lead. Little did President Holger Knack, he's from Germany. Many of you have probably seen him on different things, but little did he know that the pandemic was going to happen. And I believe every governor, and I know Gary Whiting will tell you this, every governor will tell you that their theme is the best theme. But I also will tell you that I think this theme is the best theme. And the reason that I do is I think for this year, it really gave essence to what Rotary is about. Rotary opens opportunities. So the doors stand for something different. When we think about Rotary opening opportunities, I think many of us consider, obviously, the opportunities we open for our community, who we're serving, our service work. But Holger really wanted to emphasize that Rotary opens opportunities for each other. That as Rotarians, a huge part of what we do is our connection and friendship with each other. And so the red door stands for Rotaract, which you're doing. Is Esmeralda still on the line? Thank you, Esmeralda, for being one of our leaders at ASU. It stands for Emerging Leaders 18 and above. The yellow door stands for Interact, which I know that you're all working on, our youth, middle school and high school. And the blue door stands for Rotarians, each other, and how we take care of each other. And so this year proved the Rotary opens opportunities. Now, when the pandemic started, and I don't mean this as a criticism, I think you all can relate, there were kind of two different ways to handle it. One group, it was paralysis. It was, this is unbelievable. It's definitely very worrisome. And then the other group kind of just said, I'm going to take action. I'm going to go right in. And I'll tell you, Rotarians are people of action, and your club is no different. When I look at the amazing things going on in your club, it just delights me. So first of all, let me wish you happy anniversary, happy birthday, 35 years of service, amazing for your club. And Gary, thank you for publishing all of this. It was awesome to be able to see all of it. I see you down there. And then also, you guys, I don't know whose idea it was to come up with this rally, but I was following you on Facebook last weekend when you guys went to the stores and they put the different pictures up. And so just awesome to connect and be super creative in the environment that we're in. But let's not stop there. You guys continued on, and you have been amazing givers through this entire year. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, right? $4,000 to Ascend, amazing work. $4,000 to Positive Paths for vocational scholarships. I know you've done the veterans right here, the veterans ride. And then of course, the amazing work on Imagination Library. And Judy, I know that your camera's off right now, but she has been such a champion with Step Up for Rotary and raising money. And it's just been really, really, really neat to see this activity and the great work you guys do. I mean, think about it. It's a global pandemic, a once in a lifetime pandemic. And in no way did it stop your club at all. I mean, you guys just creatively, individually kept going, kept working, and I have to thank you for that. But you've done things way beyond that as well. When I think of your club, one thing I think of big time, and Gary, I see you on here, and John McCoy, all of you, thank you for your great work with the Navajo Water Project. And when we did that global grant, so I was the district foundation chair in the very first year when the first section of the Navajo Water Project was being put together with Kurt Ward, and I know Gary and John, you were on the beginning team too, in the very early. But what people don't know about that is at that time, we were just focused on just getting water, getting water into the Navajo Nation. Little did we know with the pandemic how crucial water was going to be for the entire community. And I think, if you guys have heard the stories of what's happened, it was almost impossible to get water in there during this time. I know in Coconino County, trucks were being brought in, Yavapai County trucks were being brought in. And so I just want to genuinely thank you. What people don't know about the district governor is I'm a Rotarian just like you. I'm in, the Rotary Club of Sun City. And so it's an honor to be a part of such an incredible project and organization with all of you. And I know you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but what we don't see on the other side are the faces of who you're helping, how you're creating opportunities day in and day out. This club lives the theme, Rotary opens opportunities, probably perfectly. And I just want to thank you for that. I also want to thank you because your total giving in 35 years to the Rotary Foundation is $1.21 million. you guys. To put this in comparison, and we don't compare, but other clubs who have been around for 80 years, their giving might be 250,000. Your club is such a generous club. And so not only does that allow us to do the great work that we're doing in our grants, but your great work, but also the great community work we get to do. So please, just understand how much we appreciate it. And your giving last year was 16,503. Your total giving this year is 17,186. And why that is also a really big deal, you guys. Yes, John, you were allowed to clap. I see you. The reason why that's such a big deal is giving to the Rotary Foundation and Polio Plus due to the pandemic is down close to 30% this year, worldwide, not just our district, worldwide. And, I understand, and it's not because people aren't giving. It's actually very different. It's because people are giving to the immediate needs in their community. I think people have been beyond generous this year, but I appreciate so much that you kept the Rotary Foundation front and center, because that money comes back to us in 3 years. And we want to be able to do the great projects in 3 years that we could do today. So again, thank you. But I want to share 2 stories with you that you participated in that you may not be aware of. And some of you might have heard these stories, but I want to take it a step further. So as Ed mentioned, I had the opportunity to take 2 groups of high school students to Kenya. The first year, it was not by volunteer. I didn't ask to go. What happened was I got a call from our youth services chair, and he said, Elizabeth, the chaperone has fallen out. We have a trip in 6 weeks. We're taking these, students to Kenya. Would you be willing to go? And at that time, my son was in high school. And so I was very familiar with the Crutches for Africa program, and our 95, it was 105, now 95, just because schools are meeting virtually. Our Interact clubs for the past 5 years have been collecting used mobility devices. So it was walkers, crutches, wheelchairs, canes, et cetera, and shipping those by 40-foot boat to Kenya. And this was the first team of high school students that were scholarshiped to go meet them. You guys actually gave to this. I don't know if you remember, but you guys gave and helped scholarship some of these students to go. So they called and said, would you be willing to go? And I have a rule in Rotary that I would love to propose to all of you. I think you already do this, but when a crazy opportunity comes up, I always try to say yes, even if it's just completely not something on my list. And so I agreed to go. And I met these team of high school students for the very first time at Sky Harbor Airport. Okay. And oh, by the way, I was the only chaperone. So here I am with these high schoolers, and off we go. And what was really neat, and you'll see it, is we came up to this house first, and this is a mud hut. Now, you guys, it looks bigger than what it actually is. I mean, I know you're all at home for the most part. It's probably the size of like half a guest bedroom. Okay. And the entire family was living in this mud hut, and it's made out of manure and clay. And we came up and we saw a man laying face down on the ground. And we were working with the Rotary Club in Naivasha, Kenya. That's who they identified to help us. Well, as we were getting the wheelchair for him, we saw this woman on the left-hand side crawling around with flip-flops on her hands. And we learned about her story. And what we learned about her story is she had been on the ground for 40 years because she contracted polio at the age of 4. And when I mean on the ground, you guys, I mean sincerely on the ground. Had to use the bathroom, went to the restroom on the ground, ate on the ground, lived on the ground. And your high school students on the right-hand side, so when I say your high school students, these are the ones you guys scholarship to go. These are the ones from Arizona. Dylan's from Mojave High. Lorelei right here, many of you know her. She's from Gilbert. And Hazel right here is from Snowflake Cholo. They looked at me with tears in their eyes and they said, we are not leaving her here. The problem is we only had one chair for the man. And Dylan said to me, Elizabeth, wait, we have an extra chair because we didn't have enough seats in the van. Can I go back and get it? Would you be okay if I didn't sit in a chair on the way back? And I was like, of course, Dylan, of course. The thing was, the van was 5 miles away. So your students walked 5 miles to get the chair. And this is a picture of them bringing the chair back. Now, what happened after that was nothing short of a miracle. After that, we pull the chair up and she knew exactly what to do. She pulls herself up in the chair, she turns around and she spins off. And you guys, I swear, I thought she was never coming back again. She just was off in a distance and she turns around and she's waving her hands in the air and she's smiling. And this picture right here, do you guys, can you see her smile? That's a smile that only Rotary can give. That was the smile of everything you guys did, whether you donated the wheelchair or you donated crutches or you gave money to send the students or gave money to pay for the shipment. This was Rotary opening opportunities. You brought dignity for that woman. You brought the ability for her to go to school, potentially live the second half of her life, to get off the ground. The other opportunity you opened, though, the obvious is the woman, but you also opened opportunities for all the students. Because in that moment, those students, 3 of them changed their careers, their path when they came back. Hazel came back, and the one in the maroon with the thumbs up, and she changed her career to epidemiology. This was pre-COVID. She's actually doing research on COVID now because she saw the need of sustainable research in that area while we were in Kenya. In disease prevention. Lorelei is actually doing public work in Washington, D.C. You guys had an impact not only on the woman, on the students, and on me. Obviously, my life was completely changed being a part of this experience, and only Rotary provides crazy opportunities like that. Nothing else have I ever been a part of. And I'm involved in a lot of things. I'm like our new member, Dawn, and I should have told you earlier, I won the Arizona State Math Competition. So I feel like you and I are very connected. The bottom line is Rotary opens opportunities. And here's one more story before we finish, you guys. So the next year we go back and I'm gonna stop share for a second so I can tell you the story. So the next year we go back and I'm meeting with the club president again in the Rotary Club of Naivasha in Kenya. His name's Edward. So Edward's John's counterpart in Kenya. And he got a phone call. And I don't know if you've ever been around, I trust you've all been around someone where they've gotten a phone call or some sort of news where you know something incredible or awful or something has happened. And he's saying, okay. And he hangs up and he looks at me and he says, Elizabeth, they found water in Narok. Now, I don't know what that means, just like you don't know what that means. I'm sitting across from him going, okay, sounds, sounds good. And he said, no, you don't understand. Our Rotary Club has been working on this project for 10 years. And he said, Rotarians don't give up. We have had every problem imaginable with this. We've had vendor issues. We tried to drill for the water, couldn't get it done. He said, for 10 years, we've persisted, and today they found water for the first time. Do you want to go see it? Well, of course I wanted to go see it. So we drove about 4 hours to the Maasai community, which is an agriculture community. This area served about 5,000 people, 3 orphanages, 5 schools. And as we get there, I see the elders in the distance with the water tower. And as we're walking over, I asked, who did you do this project with? Was it World Vision or, what group? And he said, no, this is a Rotary Global Grant. We did it with Rotary. And I said, oh my gosh, you're kidding. Who was your international partner? And he said, well, it was a really long time ago and our partner did the infrastructure. They did the piping underneath so that the water could go to the water troughs. And he said, it was clubs in the United States. I think Arizona. He goes, yeah, it was Arizona. And it was Phoenix and Prescott. And as he starts talking, you guys, and naming the clubs, I have immediate tears because I knew in that moment, this was our project. This was your project. This is your story. It was District 5495's project. And we, with the money you gave, the 1.2 million to the Rotary Foundation, or the money you give every year, we funded this project. So when you guys were sleeping in your area, East Valley, what you didn't realize is you brought water to a group of 5,000 people for the first time. And this wasn't clean water, just clean water. It was the women were walking 10 to 12 miles a day each way to get the water with the donkeys. And sometimes they would get all the way there and there would be no water because of the drought and they had to turn back. So again, I say to you, not only did you open opportunities for the woman and the students, but you opened opportunities for 5,000 people who can live life. You opened opportunities for the women who can actually get an education now because they no longer are walking for the water. I can't thank you enough. It makes me so proud to be a Rotarian. And so let me share the most special moment with you guys right here. This is, and it'll pop up for you in a second. This is the water running in Naroq for the first time. This was the water you brought to all of them. So many times in Rotary, we write the check, right? And I have the pictures of your generosity in the beginning of the presentation today. But you guys know it's so much more than writing a check. You don't get to see the faces of the families that you help feed the hungry at night when the mom doesn't have to stress because she has food for her kids that night. The vocational training where you change someone's entire future by one scholarship because that scholarship gives them hope to continue on. And the legacy change of that family because of having access to education. Imagination Library, Judy, the work you do and the work your group does is unbelievable in having children read at a third grade level by third grade. You know that the success of that is that the majority of them will graduate high school and go on to college. We know the statistics are there. And this is real work and real lives. And again, I just cannot thank you enough. So let's talk about this year. You guys are almost done, John. We have John, you have a year and 3 months left. But for me, it's 3 months, but we're almost done with this Rotary year. And anytime we go through something massive, and I think a global pandemic counts for that, I think it's a great time to reflect as a club and say, we are an amazing club. We're doing great work. How can we make ourselves just like that much better? And you guys are near perfect. So that's a tough one, but maybe there's some members you haven't seen in a long time who don't want to get on Zoom. They're not ready to come in person. Maybe you could reach out to those members and just let them know, hey, we care about you. We're ready for you when you come back. Maybe it's, yes, you already help 15 things in the community, but could you do 16? Could we raise a little bit more? Could we do a little bit more? So I want each one of you, this isn't a question to John, this is a question to each one of you. What is one little thing you can do that would make the club that much more special, that much more fun to be a part of and connected? And just be thinking about that. Rotary International is doing the same thing. And I'm not going to get into the action plan tonight, Brett will, but I want you to know there is a 5-year action plan. And a big focus on that is figuring out how to adapt. Years ago, corporations would spend the money to be able to have their employees be part of the community. Nowadays, that's not the case. You have to go after work or you have to go on weekends. And how do you manage all that? And so with Rotary, we're trying to figure out, how can we make membership more flexible while still maintaining the tradition and culture of Rotary? The great work that we do, but how can we reach a different future than what it used to look like? Obviously, we also have our commitment to polio. You guys, less than 10 cases this year. And what's crazy about that is part of that is due to the pandemic because of wearing masks, because of, the infrastructure in place, but we need to finish this fight. We've made a promise to the world. And just like the Rotary Club of Naivasha, Rotarians keep their promises. And this is something we will do. We will absolutely do it. So I want to finish up by telling you the great things we did this year as a district so far. We're not done yet. We are one of only 2 districts. We were the first one that created virtual RILA. And RILA is our camp for high school students. It's called Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. And, you know, everybody, we kind of thought, you know, is it going to, the kids are on Zoom all the time. It's the last thing they're going to want to do. But what we said as a committee, everyone, is we said, we can't leave these students high and dry. They're going through a pandemic just like us. It's awful. Their whole lives have changed, and they probably need inspiration and leadership more than ever. And so we had not one, but 2 RILA camps in October and January. We worked with about 130 students free of charge. And now we know that, yes, our in-person RILA camps will be coming back this year, but we probably will also always have a virtual component for those students that aren't able to attend in-person RILA, which is really great. Thanks to your club, you guys are part of this. I sent out an email to raise $10,000 for a wheelchair distribution in Mexico. You guys came to the calling in a big way. We raised $12,000. Thank you. And you guys, we raised $12,000 in 4 days. That's the power of Rotary. And so we're going to be able to send 500 wheelchairs down to Oaxaca, Mexico. Rotary Youth Exchange is paused another year. That is not due to Rotary. That's due to the fact that the visas are not open for the exchange visas for schools. Schools are not ready to take in additional students. They're just trying to figure out what they're doing right now. So Rotary Youth Exchange will begin in 2022 Rotary year. Please keep it in your budget, John and group, because we will commit to our youth exchange next year though, for the following year. We did the USA Mexico Friendship Conference. In that, we did we presented $750,000 in grants, but we committed to over $350,000 in 1 weekend. Thank you all, amazing work. We are sending 2 more teams for Crutches for Africa. They didn't get to go last year. They're going to go in July of this year. And if any of you are interested in scholarshiping a student or being a chaperone, as I told you, the crazy opportunities are the best. Let me know and I'd be happy to get you connected. And then we have the virtual RI convention. So it was going to be in Taipei. That had moved virtual. It's probably our last virtual event. June 12th through the 16th. It's $49. We'd love for you to attend. It's going to be great. But something that I'm most proud of is Rotarians at Work, Rotarians Week of Service. And let me show you what that is. So as John mentioned, we were going to have the district conference at the Cardinal Stadium, and we had to cancel that because this was before you have to commit, you know, you guys know, like a year in advance. There was no way we could keep the money out there responsibly. So we canceled the conference, and then it turned out, obviously, that the Cardinal Stadium was a main area for the vaccines. And so how great that, you know, they were able to do that. But our leadership team got together and we said, you know, if we even had a conference, it's going to have to be socially distanced. We're probably only going to get 100 out of our 2,200 Rotarians there. It's not going to be the same. What is something we can do that will engage all 2,200 Rotarians? And so we created Rotary Week of Service. And if you go to azrotary.org, you will see, and at the end, close to 50 projects. And I'm going to pull it up for you really fast. John, I saw your note, I promise. If you go there, you will see close to 50 projects that, and it's loading. You gotta love Zoom and the loading. I know. Still loading. It'll come on. All right, can you guys see it?
Yep.
Okay, so over 50 projects that the Rotary clubs all over our district are doing in tandem this coming week. And we probably have 25 more to add. It's absolutely incredible. It's all of our clubs, all of our Rotarians coming together to do great things. And if you want to look a little bit closer, it's azrotary.org. But here's the cool thing, you guys, you know, when you start small and something just like blows up, American Furniture Warehouse agreed to be our title sponsor, and they are providing trucks for anything we need. They gave us some funding. So we have 5 billboards all over the valley. Next time you're going through I-10, you will see it. It'll say azrotary.org. Come join us. And in your local paper in Sun Lakes, you guys will see an ad. That's something we've put in there. We've worked with Arizona Republic. We have ads all over the state, and it's probably one of the best marketing endeavors we've ever done. But we had no additional funds. I think you guys know that we actually did not charge your district dues for the second half of the year. So the clubs got to keep close to $80,000 at the clubs. We were able to do about $20,000 in exposure to our communities. But the most important thing is the impact we're going to make all over Arizona. So again, thank you guys so much. How I'll leave it is this. If this year has proven anything to me, it's one thing. You can strip away all of our programs, but a Rotarian is always a Rotarian. And a Rotarian will always find a way to make an impact, make a difference, and show up where it's needed. And it is a true honor to be your district governor this year. It is a true pleasure to be serving in Rotary with you. And let's go continue to make a difference. Thank you all, you guys.
Thank you, Elizabeth, very much. I know we're near the top of the hour, but this is an opportunity. I would like to say you're not going to see Elizabeth for a long time, but next week she may indeed be a judge on the four-way speech contest.
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
But the next 5 minutes is a chance to ask a question. So if anything is on your mind, we'll punt happy, sad down the road. We have no birthdays, people that are on board this week. I'll catch up with that next week. So any questions for District Governor Elizabeth? And I know a lot of people are taking notes and there's a lot of content in there. So fantastic. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here. I do just want to point out a couple of key upcoming dates though for us. So next Tuesday morning, Zoom, we're going to start early. You'll see it in the email invite. We're going to start about 6:45, 6:50, because we have 6 students that are going to be giving four-way speech presentations and pretty much back to back. So a little bit of an early start next week. Then the Thursday after that, the 22nd, Earth Day, we have our tree planting celebration. It's one of those 50 projects that Elizabeth just scrolled through very quickly. We're planting a tree in Stendaker Park East. Thank you very much. Judy Edmonds, Marge Wright, Kim Rector, Elaine Rawls, Dr. Craig Gilbert, Candy Scribal. I know I'm forgetting somebody. We have over 31 of our members that are participating in some way, shape, or form in that event. And keep your fingers crossed. The long range forecast, only a high of 94 with light winds that day. So hopefully it's not going to be too warm on Thursday afternoon. So that's a big event coming up. Last meeting of the month, we've got a daughter of a Holocaust survivor as our guest speaker, which will be very impactful and amazing. Again, that will be an afternoon meeting on Zoom. And then please, as the Star Wars fans would say, may the 4th be with you. On Tuesday, May the 4th, we will be back for those that want to in person at Palo Verde Restaurant for our first meeting in the month of May, and that will be Educator of the Year presentation. So I wanted to cover those dates quickly. I did have a question that came in the chat from David Mork about the location on the celebration for Shirley Langer. Lou, are you, you advise what room, or is there a way that visitors can come in and participate in that?
Oh, yes. It'll be at the church, and it's at Mission del Sol, which is Warner and McClintock, just west of on Warner. And the meeting, we'll start at 10 in the morning.
And again, the date for that, Lou, is?
It's a Saturday morning.
The 8th.
Before Mother's Day. That's
May the 8th.
It's the 8th.
Yep. Okay. Very good.
I hope many of you can come. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Very, very good. Very good. And I think that's it for this afternoon. Is any last minute questions or comments? A lot of work still and giving to do. We got 3 more teachers of the month that we're going to be recognizing. Stay tuned for more information on that, and additional projects yet to do between now and June 30th, as well as a lot of planning for the upcoming year. So my thanks to everybody. Please have a safe evening. And District Governor Elizabeth, thank you so much. July the 13th, mark your calendars. In person, July 13th, a double dose of district governors. Elizabeth Mahoney will have a huge smile on her face because she will be the former district governor on that date. And new district governor Brett McKean will be coming in person, and we will have an induction of the officers of the club and kind of a celebration of a meeting in person. So that's going to be on the 13th of July. A lot more communications on that coming up. Everybody have a great week. Thank you so much.